If you're like me, you probably want to continually improve and you have a lot of ideas, things you can or do implement, but sometimes they get kind of lost. You're not sure what really worked out, what did it. And over time, we really do want to improve and make life easier on ourselves. So I've got a few tips on how to do that today. So let's get into it. Hey, I'm Adam with the Productivity Academy. And like I said, I want to talk to you about some tips that we can use for continual improvement. And a lot of this comes from not some, lofty idea of, oh, I need to be a better person or, some huge long-term goals. A lot of it actually comes from little things, but that's the important stuff, right? All those little things add up over time and help us help improve our results. So where I kind of came at this from was, have you ever had a great idea and implemented it yourself or passed it to your team? And of course, the answer is hopefully yes. But then have you ever done that, had that great idea, implemented it, and then never really tracked the output because either you just got busy, you had no system for it, or, some other reason. And yes, that's happened to me. It happens a lot. But I have some ideas and some methods to improve this because tracking your output and the results can be a huge win for the previously mentioned reasons. So let's kind of talk about this and why this matters a little bit more. So I know that there are some personality types that want to just get things done and move on to the next idea. And if you have a large team or you have someone who's already tracking outputs and results, that's great. But for the rest of us, we need to focus our time and attention where it will get results. I know for myself, if I'm unsure about the results of my changes, the tests, the ideas, I could end up going down these huge rabbit holes, which is something I definitely don't want to do. Also, if you're tracking results, you'll be able to know what the winners are so that you can then focus on that, improving those areas, and then improve your results and know what works. So some examples of this, just to give some concrete examples, would be like split testing a landing page for a product or service. Improving that over time can have huge effects on a business. Maybe introducing a new or improved onboarding process for employees and knowing whether that's working well or not and finding out about that. How about trying no coffee for 14 days, doing that as an experiment? And you can find a link down below if you're interested in that. But finding out if that's helpful for you or not, you have to have some way of tracking that. But we want to do this, right, without overwhelming admin overhead, adding tons of stuff to our plate. So I think that from my point of view, the good news is it can be relatively simple. And, yesterday, this is an example I had, I was about to finish delegating an email to be added to a client's account. This was something I had come across and it was a great idea, and I saw how I could kind of change it and make it work for a client. And so it was going to boost engagement on the client side, but also it'd be helpful for subscribers. So win-win there. So I was about to finish delegating it, click the button to send it off. But I realized that I hadn't added anything about tracking results. And if there's one thing I've learned about email is you never know for sure. There's lots of best practices like any area, any industry, but you always want to test and measure. If you just try something new and have no way of really tracking it, that's not a good thing to be doing. So all I did was add a note to gather the engagement rates after 60 days, compare them to the other emails that were in the series, and then report back via that ClickUp task that I had assigned. That took like 10 seconds to add that on there. And there's two reasons that this is important. Like I talked about, if it works well, great. Now we know it. But also if it doesn't work well, there's a check or a fix to remove it if there's a problem. We see that open rates have tanked on that email, or, people are complaining, whatever that might be. But also if it's working well now, I'll know for sure, and I can go and implement that in other places. So again, that's relatively simple, just adding something of a single check on there. This can, of course, be more complex, more complicated, but I do want to mention a few other ways to track results. Setting your own reminder if you're kind of a one-person operation, using your task app, Todoist, ClickUp, whatever that might be. When you implement something new, I'm going to go back to the email example, but it could be anything. Just think real quickly, what do I need to measure? What's the most important thing to measure, and what kind of a timeline is this? Set a reminder. Help yourself and give yourself some context to that. Remind yourself why you're setting this reminder, what it was about, any links, maybe a screenshot, whatever you might need to give yourself context, because in 60 days, you may not even remember what this is about. Also, add it to your calendar. All right. If you're making effective use of your calendar and you have things blocked off in there, maybe you have that in there as well. That could be helpful. You can also delegate the checking via your task app or project management system like I did. If you have a VA, something like that, that can be really effective. Also, something that I think I might need to do is to create a template in the task or project management app with a line about checking results such as, hey, does this need to be tracked? If so, make sure you add, a reminder, a subtask, whatever that might be, to check the results and record them. And I think this is a great way to use technology to really help you get better results. And I've thought about this and I was like, to really kind of get even better results from this, I would probably record the results somewhere easily accessible for future reference. An example of this that I do with things that go well is a Notion database and adding what happened, some context, was it, this sort of a test? Was it, who was involved in the test? What tools did I use? Anything like that. Some helpful screenshots. A lot of time that can save a ton of time. Take some screenshots of results before or after, and then a tag or description so I can quickly see if it's in a Notion database. What's it about? Was it email? Is it onboarding? Is it something else? Was it trying a new tool? Anything like that. So highly recommend giving this a shot with your next idea and then doing this moving forward. There's a lot that this encapsulates. It's not just, hey, check results because you don't know when things are going to go good or bad. That is, of course, the most important right off the bat. But there's that continual improvement. You're going to be able to focus on what's working. You'll know what works well. And over time, this is just incredibly powerful, as well as giving you some ideas about your decision-making process. Are you choosing the right things? And if you're not having a system like this in place, you may not know. So a lot going on here. Hopefully this is helpful for you. If you have any questions about this, if you have any ideas for tools to use or ways you would implement it, please leave a comment below. I'll get back to you. And in that, I hope you can put this to use and also get some better results moving forward for yourself.